Ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about the dynamics of relationships, particularly between men and women, one crucial element often overlooked is the idea of personal boundaries. Today, I want to discuss an idea that may sound provocative. A woman must always hide 3 things from a man. This is not about deceit or manipulation. It is about wisdom, agency, and the preservation of individuality. The concept of a woman hiding the full depth of her emotional world is not about suppression or withholding connection, but rather about cultivating a sense of sacred autonomy and trust in relationships. Emotions, by their very nature, are intricate and deeply personal. They encompass experiences, memories, fears, and hopes that form the foundation of who a person is. For a woman, her emotional depth often serves as both her strength and her vulnerability, a reservoir of empathy, intuition, and resilience. To expose this entire emotional spectrum immediately or indiscriminately risks not only overwhelming the recipient, but also diminishing the value of this profound part of herself. When a woman shares too much of her emotional depth prematurely, she risks misinterpretation. Human relationships require time to develop understanding, and emotional nuances can often be misunderstood, especially if the listener is not yet capable of fully appreciating or processing them. Men and women, while deeply connected in their humanity, often approach emotions differently due to biological, psychological, and cultural influences. So a man may genuinely care but may lack the tools or readiness to grasp the complexities of certain emotional revelations. This can lead to unintended consequences, disconnection, dismissal, or even judgment, not because of malice, but because understanding deep emotions requires context, familiarity, and a level of emotional maturity that develops over time. A woman's emotional depth is a powerful tool for her own growth and self-awareness. By reserving parts of her emotional world, she creates space to nurture her inner life without undue external influence. This is not an act of selfishness, but one of self-preservation and self-respect. It allows her to process, understand, and integrate her emotions before choosing to share them. Emotional boundaries ensure that she retains control over her narrative and decides when, how, and with whom to share her innermost feelings. She says, "I know you're not lying, but you can't lie to me." It's also important to recognize the impact of selective emotional sharing on the development of a relationship. When a woman thoughtfully reveals her emotions over time, she cultivates a foundation of trust and intimacy. It allows her partner to engage at a pace that fosters genuine connection rather than being overwhelmed by the sheer weight of emotional vulnerability. This gradual unveiling creates a rhythm in the relationship where each revelation strengthens the bond and fosters mutual respect. Emotions are deeply tied to identity. By safeguarding her emotional world, a woman ensures that her identity is not entirely subsumed by the relationship. In many cases, women are socialized to prioritize emotional caregiving, often at the expense of their own well-being. By hiding the full extent of her emotions, a woman resists this tendency, reaffirming her right to be an individual with her own complexities, struggles, and triumphs. The deliberate choice to reserve parts of her emotional world is an act of wisdom. It reflects an understanding that emotions are not just tools for connection, but treasures to be shared with those who have earned the right to witness them. It's a profound reminder that emotional boundaries are not barriers, but bridges built with care and intention. A woman's aspirations, the dreams and goals that define her purpose and trajectory, are deeply personal and deserve protection until the relationship proves itself as a safe and supportive environment. Aspirations are not merely ideas or ambitions. They are the manifestation of a woman's inner drive, her vision of the future, and the culmination of her experiences, talents, and desires. Sharing these too early or with someone who may not value or respect them can expose these precious goals to misunderstanding, dismissal, or even subtle sabotage. For this reason, a woman must carefully consider when and with whom she chooses to reveal her deepest aspirations. And so, aspirations are inherently delicate in their early stages. When a goal is just beginning to take shape, it is often vulnerable to external influences, criticism, doubt, or even unintentional discouragement. A partner who does not fully understand or align with these aspirations might unknowingly diminish their significance, causing the woman to question her own path. This can be especially damaging if the relationship is new, as there has not yet been enough time to establish mutual trust or a clear understanding of each other's values and priorities. By keeping her goals protected until the relationship has matured, a woman safeguards her dreams from premature scrutiny. Aspirations are deeply tied to identity and self-worth. For a woman, revealing her true ambitions is an act of trust, as it often involves exposing parts of herself that are vulnerable to judgment. These ambitions may not always conform to societal or relational expectations, making them even more precious and in need of careful stewardship. Sharing them only after a foundation of respect and support has been built ensures that these aspirations will be met with encouragement rather than resistance or indifference. There is also a psychological dynamic at play. When a woman reveals her aspirations prematurely, it can sometimes shift the balance of power in a relationship. If her partner is not secure in his own identity or supportive of her individuality, he may perceive her ambitions as a threat or a challenge to his role in the relationship. This can lead to subtle dynamics of control or competition, undermining the very foundation of mutual respect that a healthy partnership requires. By waiting to share her goals, a woman allows the relationship to evolve naturally, creating space for her partner to appreciate her as a whole person rather than someone defined by her ambitions alone. Another critical aspect is that a woman's aspirations often involve growth and change, qualities that can challenge the status quo in a relationship. Protecting these dreams until the relationship is stable ensures that her personal growth will not be stifled by someone who is not ready to embrace the changes her aspirations may bring. A supportive partner will not only accept but actively encourage her evolution, understanding that her growth ultimately benefits both individuals and the relationship as a whole. Withholding her aspirations until the right time is an act of wisdom and self-respect. It allows a woman to ensure that her dreams are nurtured and valued within the context of a relationship that is built on trust, understanding, and mutual support. By doing so, she empowers herself to pursue her goals fully while fostering a partnership that uplifts rather than hinders her journey. A woman's innermost vulnerabilities, the tender, raw parts of her emotional and psychological being, are the essence of her humanity. They are where her deepest fears, insecurities, and unhealed wounds reside. To share these vulnerabilities is an act of profound trust and intimacy, but it is not something that should be done lightly or indiscriminately. These parts of herself are sacred, and revealing them prematurely or to the wrong person can lead to misunderstanding, exploitation, or emotional harm. Therefore, a woman must exercise wisdom and discernment in choosing when and with whom to share her most fragile truths. Scripture. Vulnerability is not weakness. It is a powerful and courageous aspect of being human. It is through vulnerability that genuine connection and empathy are fostered. However, vulnerability also requires safety. If shared with someone who lacks the emotional maturity or sensitivity to respond appropriately, it can result in feelings of betrayal or rejection. For instance, sharing a painful past experience with someone who dismisses or trivializes it can deepen the wound rather than begin the healing process. By holding back her deepest vulnerabilities until trust has been established, a woman protects herself from unnecessary pain and ensures that her experiences are honored. The act of withholding vulnerability in the early stages of a relationship also serves to test the character and intentions of the other person. It allows time to observe whether the potential partner is trustworthy, empathetic, and capable of handling the complexities of another person's inner world. Vulnerabilities, once revealed, create a form of emotional intimacy that can bind people together. But if that bond is formed prematurely, it risks creating a connection that is unbalanced or based on false foundations. A woman's discernment in this area ensures that her openness is met with genuine care rather than manipulation or indifference. And I suspect so many are leaving themselves victim to the nonsensical thinking that the bond is one-sided. Protecting her vulnerabilities allows a woman to maintain her emotional independence. When vulnerabilities are shared too freely, there is a risk of becoming overly reliant on the other person for validation or comfort. This dynamic can inadvertently lead to an imbalance of power in the relationship, where one person becomes the caretaker of the other's emotional well-being. By safeguarding her innermost feelings, a woman reinforces her sense of self-reliance and resilience, entering into relationships from a place of strength rather than dependency. Another essential aspect is that vulnerability is a dynamic, evolving process. Over time, as trust deepens and mutual respect grows, a woman can begin to share these hidden parts of herself. In doing so, she not only invites deeper intimacy, but also gives her partner the opportunity to prove his ability to hold space for her. This gradual revelation ensures that the relationship develops on a foundation of authenticity and mutual care, where both partners feel valued and supported. A woman's choice to protect her vulnerabilities is an act of self-preservation and empowerment. It is not about building walls, but about setting boundaries that honor her worth and ensure that her innermost truths are treated with the respect they deserve. This measured approach to vulnerability creates the potential for relationships that are not only deeply intimate, but also grounded in mutual trust and emotional safety. Striking a balance between sharing and safeguarding oneself in a relationship is an essential principle for fostering mutual growth and respect. Relationships at their best are partnerships where both individuals bring their unique strengths, vulnerabilities, and aspirations to create something greater together. However, this harmony cannot be achieved if one person overextends themselves emotionally or sacrifices too much of their individuality. And balance is not just about fairness. It is about preserving one's identity while creating a space where both partners can thrive. Sharing is a cornerstone of connection. It allows two people to understand one another deeply and form a bond rooted in empathy and trust. However, the timing and extent of this sharing are critical. When a woman shares too much of herself, her emotions, dreams, or struggles, without discernment, she risks losing a sense of personal agency. Oversharing can blur boundaries, leading to a dynamic where one partner may feel overwhelmed or even inadvertently take the other for granted. On the other hand, withholding too much can create distance, making it difficult for genuine intimacy to develop. The key lies in discerning what to share and when, ensuring that each revelation strengthens the relationship rather than undermining it. Safeguarding oneself does not mean building walls or keeping secrets. It means recognizing that certain aspects of one's identity are sacred and must be protected until the relationship proves to be a space of safety and mutual respect. For example, sharing one's deepest fears or most cherished dreams too early in a relationship can leave a person feeling exposed and vulnerable to potential judgment or misunderstanding. While pacing the sharing process, a woman allows trust and understanding to develop organically, ensuring that her partner is equipped to honor and support her individuality. This balance also fosters mutual respect. When a woman maintains her boundaries, she signals to her partner that she values herself and expects the same in return. This dynamic encourages both individuals to approach the relationship with care and intentionality, rather than taking one another for granted. In a healthy relationship, boundaries are not seen as barriers, but as expressions of self-respect and a commitment to personal growth. They create a framework within which both partners can flourish, supporting each other without losing their sense of self. Balance in sharing and safeguarding promotes emotional resilience. By not relying entirely on her partner for validation or emotional support, a woman retains her independence and inner strength. This independence does not diminish the relationship. Rather, it enriches it. A strong, self-assured individual contributes to a partnership that is dynamic and robust, where both people feel empowered to grow and evolve. Maintaining balance ensures that the relationship remains reciprocal. When both partners are equally invested in understanding and supporting each other, the relationship becomes a source of mutual growth rather than one-sided sacrifice. Each person brings their authentic self to the table, creating a bond that is both deep and sustainable. Balance is about honoring oneself while honoring the relationship. It is a delicate dance of sharing and safeguarding, of giving and holding back, that fosters a partnership rooted in trust, respect, and mutual growth. Empowerment is the core of any healthy relationship, and it begins with a woman's ability to maintain her individuality, dignity, and self-respect. The act of selectively sharing certain aspects of herself, her emotions, aspirations, and vulnerabilities, is not an act of withholding, but a deliberate exercise in protecting her personal agency. End quote. This protection is vital in fostering an empowered sense of self that allows her to navigate relationships from a place of strength rather than need or insecurity. Empowerment comes from recognizing that a woman's value is not defined by her willingness to be completely open at all times. Instead, her strength lies in understanding what parts of herself to share and when. This discernment creates a dynamic where she remains in control of her narrative rather than relinquishing it to someone else's interpretation or judgment. It's a form of self-advocacy, an acknowledgement that not every relationship or person is deserving of access to the most intimate aspects of her identity until mutual trust and respect have been firmly established. By safeguarding her individuality, a woman also affirms her autonomy. Too often, relationships can create pressures, whether explicit or implicit, to conform, compromise, or even subsume her own needs and goals in favor of the partnership. However, empowerment means understanding that a relationship should complement her journey, not redefine it. Her aspirations, emotional depth, and personal boundaries are not negotiable. They are integral parts of who she is. Integral parts of who she is. By protecting these aspects of herself, she ensures that the relationship evolves in a way that uplifts and supports her rather than diminishing her. This approach also redefines vulnerability as a strength rather than a weakness. When a woman chooses to share parts of herself intentionally and gradually, she does so from a position of power. Vulnerability in this context becomes a gift, one that is earned by her partner through their actions, respect, and commitment to understanding her. Empowerment means knowing that she has the right to withhold this gift until the relationship proves to be a space of emotional safety and genuine partnership. Empowerment fosters mutual respect. A woman who values herself and maintains her boundaries sets a standard for how she expects to be treated. This not only shapes the dynamic of her relationship, but also influences how her partner views her. A partner who recognizes her strength and independence is more likely to approach the relationship with admiration and a desire to support her growth. Empowerment, then, becomes a catalyst for healthier, more balanced partnerships, where both individuals thrive and both can rise to the productive state, and you and the other person will surrender. Empowerment ensures that a woman remains connected to her sense of self. Relationships, while deeply rewarding, should never come at the cost of losing one's identity. When a woman prioritizes her individuality and safeguards her inner world, she reinforces her self-worth. This foundation of confidence and self-awareness allows her to engage in relationships from a place of choice rather than obligation, enhancing the quality and authenticity of her connections Empowerment is about honoring one's boundaries, individuality, and self-worth. It is the foundation upon which fulfilling relationships are built, creating a dynamic where a woman's strength and independence are celebrated rather than compromised. This balance of self-respect and partnership fosters not only personal growth, but also the potential for deeper, more meaningful connections. The idea of hiding certain aspects of oneself, whether emotions, aspirations, or vulnerabilities, requires ethical clarity. It is not about deceit or manipulation, but about preserving the sacred parts of oneself until they can be shared in a context of trust and respect. This practice is an act of integrity rooted in the understanding that protecting one's inner world is essential for emotional and psychological well-being. Ethical boundaries ensure that relationships are built on a foundation of mutual respect rather than unbalanced or premature exposure of deeply personal matters. Safeguarding parts of oneself is not about creating barriers, but about establishing boundaries. Boundaries are not walls, they are frameworks that define how a person engages with others while maintaining their individuality. For a woman, these boundaries serve as a declaration of self-worth. They signal to a partner and to herself that her inner world is valuable and deserves to be treated with care. Ethical boundary setting involves being honest about what is being withheld and why, ensuring that this process is not driven by fear or insecurity, but by wisdom and self-respect. The ethical dimension also lies in the intention behind this practice. When a woman chooses to hold back parts of her emotional depth, aspirations, or vulnerabilities, it is not to manipulate or control the relationship. Instead, it is to create a space where trust can develop organically. Relationships thrive when both individuals feel safe, respected, and valued. By protecting her inner world, a woman fosters an environment where both partners can engage authentically, free from undue pressure or premature intimacy. End of footnote. Another critical aspect of this ethical framework is that it allows time for mutual discernment. In any relationship, it takes time to assess the character, values, and intentions of the other person. Sharing too much too quickly can create an illusion of intimacy that may not be supported by the underlying reality of the relationship. By pacing her openness, a woman gives herself and her partner the opportunity to build a connection based on genuine understanding rather than rushed vulnerability. This approach ensures that the relationship develops in a balanced and ethical manner. Ethical safeguarding also acknowledges that not all relationships are meant to reach the deepest levels of intimacy. Some connections may be fleeting or situational, and not everyone is equipped or deserving to hold the most sensitive parts of another person's soul. By discerning what to share and with whom, a woman honors the uniqueness of each relationship without compromising her own well-being. This discernment is not an act of exclusion, but an acknowledgement that intimacy requires mutual investment and emotional safety. Ethical safeguarding empowers a woman to remain true to herself. It ensures that her choices in relationships align with her values and principles. By protecting her inner world, she reinforces her sense of agency, ensuring that her actions are guided by authenticity rather than external pressures or expectations. This ethical approach creates the conditions for relationships that are not only fulfilling, but also grounded in respect, trust, and integrity. The practice of protecting certain parts of oneself is deeply ethical. It is about creating a dynamic where both partners can engage with honesty and respect while maintaining their individuality. By honoring her inner world and sharing it thoughtfully, a woman cultivates relationships that are both meaningful and sustainable, built on the principles of mutual care and integrity. Heritage is the very essence of protecting and sustaining a relationship. In conclusion, the act of selectively sharing and safeguarding parts of oneself is not about creating distance, but about fostering strength, self-respect, and meaningful connections. A woman's emotions, aspirations, and vulnerabilities are treasures that should be revealed with care and intention, ensuring they are met with the respect they deserve. That is not by maintaining boundaries she preserves her individuality, empowers herself, and allows relationships to grow on a foundation of trust and mutual understanding. This balance of openness and restraint is an act of wisdom, one that honors her inner world while creating space for genuine intimacy. It is through this thoughtful discernment that a woman can engage in relationships from a place of strength, nurturing partnerships that uplift rather than diminish her. Ultimately, by protecting her essence until the right time and context, she not only cultivates deeper, more authentic bonds, but also reinforces her identity as a confident, empowered individual.